Welcome to the Creative Coast's video podcasts, featuring Savannah's top thinkers, business people, innovators, and creators. With host B. Ray, director of the Creative Coast, and program director Sharice Bennett. What follows are interviews running on the Creative Coast's website this month. You can check out the podcasts day or night at thecreativecoast.org/blog.
Brick wall after brick wall after brick wall.
Hello and welcome to the front porch. My name is B. Ray. I'm with the Creative Coast, and today we're chatting it up with Debbie Brannigan. Hey, Debbie.
Hey, B. How are you?
I'm delighted to be here and delighted to have you here.
Thanks. It's an honor to be here.
So, there's a lot of things I'd love to talk to you about, but today I kind of want to talk about a film competition. Talk to me about your desires and what you see and what's going on.
Boy, that's a big question. Well, I have the Sole Proprietors Film Competition. It's launching in Savannah, and it takes 3 neighborhood businesses, and each business will be paired up with a competing film crew through random draw. And these film crews get 5 days to complete a 5 to 7 minute video that really gets in there and gets behind the scenes, not just of the business, but the owners and the people behind the business and their motives for, why they give back. Put a real face on the business. And it's
it's sole proprietor.
Yeah, play on, the business category,
Right.
but it's SOUL, sole proprietor, little play on words. And it is a competition, but I like to think of it as more of a community project because the crews themselves are just as integral to the overall picture as the business. HD Savannah will be following the filming that's going on. They'll be filming the filming that's going on, and so a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff will be woven into the finished product. Hopefully, it'll be fun and entertaining. That's what I want to get.
So there are 3 companies.
Yes, 3 local businesses.
Got it. And those have already been selected?
Yes, they have.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. And then there are crews, and one applies to be a crew, and then they're part of the competition.
Exactly.
Isn't that great? And do you apply as an individual, or you must have your predetermined crew?
You have your own crew,
Got it.
and that is one of the requirements. You have to have the capabilities to produce a finished, to do the post-editing yourself and deliver a finished piece.
And you only get 5 days?
Correct.
Got it. And it's only 5 days to learn about the business, create the film, and then do all the editing.
Everything.
And then hand it in.
Yes.
Isn't that neat?
So they'll actually get paired up at a meet and greet where the 3 business owners will be paired with the film crews at a meet and greet through a random draw, and they'll get that night to meet the owner and maybe do logistics, and then at 8 o'clock the next morning it starts.
And the website to find out about applying?
SoleProprietorsTV.com.
Okay, so back to the idea came to Debbie when?
Oh boy, I actually had a bigger picture. It was a global concept I had probably 8 years ago, and I wrote a whole TV treatment for it. But writing a TV treatment doesn't really get you anywhere with networks or anything because they want a finished reel. And I saw an ad in the Connect magazine for SGTV. Jody Jenkins had a call out for submissions for Engage, and I thought, what the heck, I'll send him this treatment. And he told me the exact same thing everybody else did. We really need finished reels, but if you can get one, we'd love to show it. So I thought, how am I gonna, I don't even know people in film, how am I gonna get my arms around this? But I did it, and so, I believe once you set your foot in a direction towards something, doors start opening, and
Right.
So it's been about 10 months since Jody put the bug in my ear.
That Jody, he's a pretty good guy, isn't he? I think we better, get the rat out of the bag. Jody's behind the camera right here, and that is a nice poetic story.
Yeah, and
isn't
he's
it?
provided me with a lot of motivation. I appreciate that, Jody, very much. So yeah, I thought the cost was prohibitive to go to a production company and have each one produced. So I thought, film competition.
It's great. Okay, so then what happens, like what's your plan after the competition? How does that?
Well, hopefully after this launch, successful launch, I'll move on to Atlanta. If you think of 48-hour film festival, it'll kind of be along the same lines.
Right.
So I've already got businesses lined up in Atlanta, and then Asheville, and then Portland, Oregon.
Wow.
Yeah. So after this launch, when I've got some footage, we'll launch a Kickstarter campaign, and that way we've got some credibility that it can be pulled off, and we'll have some footage that we can put on the campaign as well.
So who are the judges?
Jody is one. Jody Jenkins, and then I have a film professor at SCAD, and I'm working on one other, so I don't have a definite for the third.
Great. So you have a panel of 3 judges,
Yes.
and you'll have these 3 teams representing or creating films about 3 different businesses.
Yes.
You like the number 3, don't you?
I do like 3. It's my favorite number.
And when did you decide you were interested in film? When did that?
You know, I have no background in film at all, but I was creative at one time, a long time ago. I got a start in the automotive industry as an illustrator. I would draw concept cars, so I could draw, and I can't draw a straight line anymore. And I would like to get back to that creative person again. But my cousins, the whole one side of my family, they're all in film and TV in Canada, in Toronto and Vancouver, BC. So I like to think it's in my DNA somewhere.
I'm sure. And it can be encouraged and taught, and following passion is always a good way of learning something, right?
Yeah, it's scary, but it's very exciting. Like to run it head first into life, you know, it's pretty exciting.
Sounds super exciting. Well, I know you do all sorts of, you have a history of starting organizations, the Capitalist Chicks,
Yep.
and tell us briefly what that is.
The capitalisttchicks.com?
Yes.
I actually started that to, again, the real face of capitalism. When I was living out west, capitalism kind of had a bad connotation to it. And I mean, I was helped tremendously through business and was trying to put a positive side to it. And featured a lot of women, like women that was starting up businesses. And it's actually the interview I used to do in my own podcast, and I interviewed so many inspiring women that there was one woman that lived with the Maasai tribe in Africa, and they would make jewelry, and then she flies back to New York twice a year and sells it, and she's built schools and just phenomenal stuff. Yeah. Ashley Schuler, she started Africade at 16. I mean, I could go on and on with these people. And I think that's what birthed this concept, because my original concept was a show that would feature these.
Oh,
these
isn't that great? So
people.
the ideas are tied. Okay,
Yes,
so
yes,
there
they
you
are.
are,
There's an
this
overlap.
person who's passionate about whatever problem, capitalism, an image, and then you go and create an entire website about it, and now it's leading to the film.
Yeah, and
That's
I had a
pretty
good run. I
exciting.
mean, I was in Money Magazine. I was on BBC London. I mean,
Good for
I
you.
had some real positive
Awesome.
results with that one.
Well, personally, as someone who works in the creative industry, it's something we work really hard for people to understand, that poverty squelches creativity and prosperity ignites it. And
I
so
agree.
there's
Been
no
there.
reason to be afraid of making money with a creation and innovation. And so it's awesome that you've established that, you've promoted this idea, and yet continue to create all sorts of great things.
Well, thank you, B.
So, well, Debbie, it's just wonderful to see you, and thank you for being part of the Creative Coast.
It was great to be here. Thanks, B. Thanks for what you do.
Thank you. Hello and welcome to the front porch. My name is Bee Ray. I'm with the Creative Coast, and today we're chatting it up with Clegg Ivey, Guild Master at Guild Hall.
That's right.
There you go. Tell us about Guild Hall.
Well, the Guild Hall is it's a creative community that we put together. It really started off as an idea. We just wanted to be able for creative people to have a place where they could come and they could work on projects, but also blow off some steam, play games, collaborate, and just have a really sort of low pressure place, a kind of a third space. You know, it's not your work, it's not your home, it's a third space where you hang out and you build a community, and that's the idea. And we're fairly new, but we're really encouraged.
So it's not just for game developers, but there are game developers who are participating in Guildhall.
That's right. Think about it. The Guildhall, we sort of use guilds or something that are really kind of popular in massively multiplayer online games like World of Warcraft. You join a guild. The guild are the people that you go out and you slay monsters with in the games. But we have 6 guilds at the Guildhall, and only one of them is the Gamers Guild. Okay. So the other guilds are the Designers Guild, the Coders Guild, we have the Storytellers Guild and the Performers Guild, and then we even have a Makers Guild. And so a lot of those would be self-explanatory, but just to take an example, we have a Fab Lab for our makers with every kind of drill and press and saws and soldering irons and you name it. And the idea is that they can get together and make things, make real things. And so that's a space that we have set up for our Makers Guild. The Gamers Guild, they have plenty of console video games and board games and lots of space to play Magic: The Gathering, which is a very popular game, or Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! If we wanted to name all the games that people play at the Guildhall, it would take us a very long time.
I did pick up a card for someone, a Magic card. It was like $26 for one piece.
So it's funny. My father, for years, was like, I don't understand this Magic game that you kids play, and of course, I tried to explain to him, didn't you ever collect baseball cards when you were a kid? He said, well, yeah, of course, baseball. I know what that is. And you buy these packs of cards, and you don't know what you're going to get. Right. You're going to get a bunch of cards, and the cards appreciate over time, not just from a collector standpoint, but also because certain cards are very powerful, and it turns out people come up with very powerful ways to use them when they play the game. And so you can spend $90 on a pack of cards or $10 on a smaller thing, and you might get hundreds of dollars of value. And so it makes it fun. It makes you want to go and kind of see what you're going to get, and you never know. You unwrap it, and then I got a foil card. Oh, this one's really powerful. This is great. So it's a lot of fun.
That's great. So how do people engage with Guildhall? There's a membership, or
right. So we're we need to keep the lights on and buy the equipment. So there's a membership fee, but we want it to be accessible to everybody. Okay. So we have memberships that start at $9.95 a month. You come in, and you don't even have to be a member to come and check it out, because we're very, very generous with guest passes, day passes, and those kinds of things. But the members, they pay $9.95 a month, or there are higher memberships, and they get some built-in activities that come with each membership. So we originally had each membership will come with this much gaming and this much maker space and this much computer time. But we had people tell us, well, I don't care about the games. I just want to use the equipment, or I just want to use your computers. So now what we do is we have this fictional currency called gold pieces, GP.
Oh, cool.
So when you get your membership, you get a certain amount of GP. Then you roll your dice of fate. So there's some random amount of extra GP we give you, and then you spend that GP however you want. You can spend all of your GP on playing Xbox games. You can spend all your GP on working on 3D animation on our high-end computer lab that we have, or you can spend all of your GP building things and making things in our workshop.
Isn't that great? So how large is Guildhall? We
have 4 buildings, and I would say roughly 12 to 16,000 square feet. And we've been very, very fortunate to work with a local philanthropist, Dr. Walter Evans. Has given a ton of great art and just money to sort of local museums and artists, and he really cares a lot about this area. We're between Montgomery Street and MLK, right around clustered little campus on Huntington Street, right? Sure. So, and he owns a lot of that land, and when he found out what we had planned, he made it really easy for us to get in there, and he helped with the city and the Historic Review Board. He's been just a real godsend. And so he sees great things for that whole neighborhood, sure. and he wants us to be part of it.
Isn't that great? So you had something planned, and then you met Dr. Evans, but what was the plan, and where did that come from?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I go way back to Silicon Valley, where in the 90s it was a lot of fun. We all had a really good time. Some of us made a lot of money, but it was so great because you had this clubhouse that ostensibly you had this creative goal. Maybe it was build this piece of software or a platform or whatever, and you all got together. And my memory of those days was spending all of my time at work, but not all of my time working. And it was,
Right.
we would work and we would play Dungeons and Dragons in the conference room, and we would have Nerf battles. And for years, and it's been a long time since those days in Silicon Valley, and there are still lots of people doing great things out there. But I wanted to recreate that feeling of everyone was smart, and they had all of these projects that they were working on, and it was great. It was a little bit like being back in school. And a lot of us, we go off into our jobs, and we have to make money and provide for our families, and we don't get to hang out and do that thing anymore. So I wanted to build something like that. And so my original thought was just a kind of clubhouse for creative people, maybe a small community center for people who are like me, maybe technologists, but also gamers, maybe a little bit of design, because Savannah really is full of creative, artistic designers. I mean, I think actually, pound for pound, I would put Savannah up against any city in the United States in terms of artistic user interface design talent.
Sure.
Right? Palo Alto, Route 128, they may have more sort of back-end architecture software folks, but this city is full of really talented designers, artists, performers. I love this place.
It certainly sounds like a fun place, Guildhall. I love Savannah as well. What are the hours?
We're open every day. We open at 11, and on Sunday nights through Wednesday nights we close at about 11. But on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we're open until at least 2 a.m. and we'll stay open for as long as everybody's there getting work done and having fun. So sometimes we don't close the doors until 4, 5, 6 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's how it used to be. That's how it always was. Back in Silicon Valley, we were like that, and that's how I've always sort of lived my life. Yeah.
So it's a little bit back to the future for you.
Yeah. My friends who were with me at some of my previous startups, when they find out what I'm doing, they get it. They're like, oh, great.
He's home.
Yeah.
That's great. Or creating a new home here.
Yeah. Hopefully a community for everyone.
Well, I look forward to being a part of it. Thank you, Clegg, for being here today, and I'm super excited about
Well, thanks,
Guildhall.
B. I really am glad I was here.
Great.
Hi, so we're here at the front porch today with Eric Reagan, the co-founder and technical director of Focus Lab, right?
Yeah,
So can you tell us a little bit about what you do at Focus Lab?
sure. The funny thing is, up until about 2 weeks ago, I was the technical director, but that's not the case anymore. We did some restructuring, and now I'm just director of just operations as a whole. That's going to help us move forward a little more smoothly than we have so far in how we've evolved. But in short, Focus Lab helps new companies define their visual brand and helps old companies redefine it to better speak to their audiences. And we do that through creation of their logo and their just visual brand experience on paper and then digitally as well. So that includes websites and mobile apps and the design of these things.
Right.
And at this point, I just make sure that all that stuff works. The business runs.
How's that going?
It's going well.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you.
And you were one of the co-founders as well. So
Correct.
how did you come up with the idea for the company, or when did it start?
Came up with the idea because it was a hobby that paid some bills. That was, quite frankly, how it started. It was 7 or 8 years ago that I think I met my co-founder, Bill Kinney, and about 4 years ago we officially quit our day jobs and started to really run forward with this at full steam. So we realized that this kind of hobby was actually generating revenue and could pay our bills and keep food on the table, and decided that we wanted to see what it would be like to build a business around that, and not just with the two of us, but with the team and an amount of revenue that could support families beyond just our own.
Awesome. And how do you think Focus Lab fits into Savannah? Or is it a great city for a company like Focus Lab? Or did you know that this is where you want to start a company? Or
I'm born and bred here,
Okay.
so it almost just seemed kind of like an accident that it was started here, but it's turned out to be a really good place for us to be, specifically in the downtown area, because it's just really nice to, just aesthetically, it's a good place to just walk out and just walk around. From a business location perspective, it actually doesn't change much about how we operate our business. We actually don't have a ton of business in Savannah. We do most of our business outside of Savannah, and about 30% of it outside of the U.S.
Wow.
So that doesn't have too much of a play in it, but just the environment has been really, really nice for us.
That's awesome. So your work involves a little bit of creativity as well
Occasionally, we have to be creative.
Occasionally? But technical knowledge as well, right?
Of course, yes.
So how do you balance the two, or how do you find ways to remain creative within kind of technological context?
This might be me splitting hairs a little, but I think that if you're not creative in your job, you're probably not doing much, no matter what your field is. So as a web developer, for example, I have to be incredibly creative in solving problems day in and day out. And it's a different end result, but it's still creativity that makes it possible, that gets me from point A to point B, whether that is a brush stroke on a piece of paper, something in Photoshop or Illustrator being designed, or writing code in a text editor and producing a website. It all involves creativity. And at this point, I'm not doing any of those things, but it still takes a creative mind to problem solve business issues and things like that. So I'm probably not really answering your question very well, but I think that all of us are working creatively if we're getting anything done.
No, I think that was a good answer. Yeah, it was maybe a bad question, but anything. And I have to ask, you've been writing and talking a lot about a balance in your business and personal life. In 2012, you gave the talk about doing more by doing less. Do you think that over-connectedness and over-commitment to work is especially a problem for maybe those working in the web technology design industries?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's rampant in that industry, and it's just really common in our culture in general. And I'm quite
Why
frankly,
do you think that is?
Well, I think that everyone wants to keep up with their perceived notion of what the other guy's doing. So if I'm watching my colleague build a new website, release an app, write 7 blog posts in a week, or whatever the case is, I might look at that and say, well, I don't feel like I'm doing that much. Why can't I do that much? Well, I'll just work a little extra and I'll do that much. That's part of it. Another part of it is the beginning stage of any business. You have to hustle. You have to work a lot to get it to actually work. And you can get stuck in that mentality. So you might get to the point where you don't have to work as much, but that's all you know now. So you keep doing it.
Right.
I think it has a lot to do with people's speed, the speed at which they're trying to live life, and they don't slow down enough to think, what are my priorities? And life changes a lot. Just since I started doing this, I've had 2 children, and the first child changed a lot, and the second child has changed a lot. So it's just a matter of taking the time to slow down, step back, and just look at lifelong goals and in purpose, and say, should I be working this much, or maybe I should be doing a different set of things. It's really common in our industry, in the web industry, because how easy it is to connect to people. And again, I think it just has a good bit to do with wanting to keep up with other people, or at least your perception of where they are.
Sure. Do you think you've found ways to find a balance and really live by what you preach in that term?
Oh yes, absolutely. I'll tell you, the first time that I really noticed this was I was sitting on the couch with my daughter. We were talking, and she was at the time, I think, 3.5. And I thought that we were having an engaged conversation, and she said, "Daddy, put your phone down."
Wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, something needs to change here. And I just started to realize how much I was glued to a screen, whether it was a TV, a laptop, a desktop, of my phone, a tablet. And I genuinely thought I was talking to my daughter, while in fact I was not. So that kind of triggered some change in me. And now I just have we kind of have some house rules at home that we each kind of hold each other accountable to.
Right.
And that involves stepping away from devices, not even having them in your pocket, turning off notifications, and a variety of other things. It's still hard sometimes, but definitely have taken specific and intentional steps to do that.
Good. Yeah, it's amazing how kids can really pick up on these things when we don't
Absolutely.
even realize.
Yes, it is.
And by doing what you do, you also set like a role model for your
Yeah.
kids. So
Yes.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming to the front porch.
Absolutely.
Thank you for all the answers.
Thank you for having me.
Great.
Hello and welcome to the front porch. My name is B. Ray. I'm with the Creative Coast, and today we're chatting it up with Ansley and Rafe Rivers. Welcome.
Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so delighted to have you. And so you were talking things like moonshine.
Yeah, talking about moonshine. Our dentist, we won't say who gave us the moonshine. The cameraman back here loves a little moonshine. We were talking about the name of our farm, Cane Water Farm,
Yes.
and it's the land we purchased is right next to the first rum distillery in Georgia, and was taken out by the hurricane in 1824. Not there, but the Tabby ruins are still there, so that's kind of where we got the name Cane Water.
Got it.
We grow organic vegetables, but would love to one day meet a good distiller and grow sugarcane and make rum.
Isn't that
So,
great?
yeah.
So what's it like to run the farm?
It's great. It's great. It's a daily labor of love, but it's worked on a lot of farms around the country, and so it's nice to finally put all your energy into something that's yours and not for someone else. So yeah, it feels really good.
And you've had the farm for how long?
Not long. We moved here.
We
purchased
bought,
the
yeah,
land.
we bought the land in September, and we were living out in San Francisco where I was teaching and he was farming, and we kept visiting back and forth with my parents and just saw a need for farmers in the area, and so this land sort of brought us here.
Yeah, we found
It's
a
kind
big
of
foreclosed
special
property that was
place.
really special. It needed a lot of love, and we saw the need for the thirst for more local agriculture and organic agriculture in the area on the coast.
So what are you growing?
But to answer your question,
Oh,
we
sorry.
moved. I moved in October to the
Okay.
property, and she came down. She was still teaching, and came in January. So first
Great.
year,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was a
Awesome.
pine. The back part of the land was a pine stand, so we had to timber the pine and sell that, and then
It was originally where the sugar cane was
Yeah.
grown, and then they had planted pine the last few decades.
yeah. So we timbered that, sold it, and then cleared the property all winter. Then planted our first crops in the spring, and we've had a great season so far.
So tell me about some of your crops.
So we grow anything from kale, arugula, spinach, carrots, radishes, beets, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, tomatoes, okra, things like that. A little bit of everything. Pretty diverse. We'll probably narrow down what does better for us, but we try to grow a diverse variety of organic vegetables.
And how are you selling them?
We direct market, so we go to the Forsyth Farmers Market in Savannah every Saturday, and we sell on Wednesday to St. Simon's and Sea Island, that area, and to our local community in Darien. Mostly direct sales to restaurants and a few vendors who resell, local vendors, and then the farmers markets. Yeah.
And you've been a farmer for a long time.
Yeah, for 7 years now, I guess. Yeah. I've been,
And what happened 8 years ago that made you say, now I need to be a farmer?
Probably reading Wendell Berry.
Okay,
Yeah.
talk about that.
Well, I was actually at the University of Georgia before that, and took a class in sustainable agriculture. The first time they taught it at UGA, and I was an environmental ethics minor, a business major, and it was too late to change my degree, and took some classes through the ecology program, and took a sustainable ag class and fell in love with it, and through the readings and just kind of learned more about where our food came from and the issues with the food system. And I did not grow up in a farm community, but just fell in love with, I love working outside, I love working with the land, I love the idea of building soil, growing good food and feeding a community. It was just, I kind of fell in love with that whole process. And then the idea of us together on a farm and raising a family on a farm was just,
It's pretty great.
yeah, felt right for us. So
Yeah.
it works for us.
Wow.
That's great.
And so there's a process where you have a wide variety of vegetables, and then you said just kind of see which ones do best.
Yeah,
and
well, everything's working out pretty good, but there's other things we want to grow, like fruit trees and pecans and maybe olives and citrus, and raise some animals as well. So we're just trying to understand the land. We cover crop over 20 acres and then just grew on about 1.5 acres this year, and we're going to expand quite a bit next year, and then go from there. As long as we can keep building soil and growing healthy food and meeting the demand of the market.
Yeah, because this is a different environment from other places.
It's really different growing here than California, New Mexico, Vermont, North Georgia even. It's
the weather, the soil?
The soil is really sandy, the pH is really low, not a lot of organic matter. The disease and pest pressure is pretty heavy. This is why I get her out there helping me every night. Ansley's actually an artist, and is definitely helping with a farm that has her full-time in the arts. So
Let's talk about your arts.
Starting a residency on the farm as well for artists that we're excited about.
So how's that going to work?
So we'll have 3 residents at a time to start with, and we'll start in January. I was teaching out at California College of the Arts and working with a friend from grad school in the residency program who's from Jacksonville. So it'll be an application process that spreads all mediums, and we'll have 3 at a time, and you'll have your own room and own studio space. There's a few older structures on the property that we've been fixing up. One to live in, one for my studio, and then one to run this residency in. So, yeah.
And so artists will apply from all over the world, and 3 at a time, and they get to stay for how long?
I think a minimum of a month.
Okay.
As an artist, I feel like that's kind of my minimum time to really start making work in a place. So an artist might come with an idea or be inspired by the place. Darien is a unique town. It's been sort of passed over by development, so it feels like you kind of step back in time. I always feel like if Walker Evans were to return, it would look just exactly like he photographed.
Right.
So, so there's a lot of things
a
going on.
a lot of dreams, and we're also interested in the shellfish industry. So we're hoping if we can one day get a shellfish lease. You can lease through private lands or through through DNR.
The farm is on the marsh.
We're on the marsh.
Sounds
we're real fortunate to have access on the water. So if we can get a lease, we'd love to. Georgia has, I think, one of the best tasting oysters in the country, and at one time led the nation in production at the turn of the century. And due to overharvesting and other issues, they got kind of passed over and wiped out. And we have an opportunity, I think, to raise one of the best oysters in the country, and with people around the country more interested in, not only local agriculture but local seafood and sustainable seafood. I think there's a great market because we have one of the healthiest ecosystems in the country. With only 100 miles of marsh, yet we have over 1/3 of the whole marsh ecosystem, and so we have a place to really raise great oysters. And I think the issue is we have these clustered oysters, and they're great for a roast, but chefs really want a single. And with the help of a lot of UGA and DNR and other folks have done a good job developing new ways of mariculture, which is taking the wild Georgia oyster and not bringing in new seed, but raising it through mariculture. So farming oysters in bags, so you get a single. So it's a way of getting the original, the wild Georgia oyster, but kind of helping it along, cultivating it to raise as a single.
They're not as much fun to shuck.
Exactly. It's more fun to look for. We have friends come from all over the country, and they love taking up, just 8 oysters in one and digging around. So I think there's a place for that too. We should keep that going as well.
Yeah.
So, what's one day?
I have 3 kids. They all know how to shuck oysters, and I just stand at the end of the table, and it works really great. And they don't mind flipping it over.
It's fun having visitors like from California or different places where they have the single. They much more enjoy the whole act of the
puzzleness of it.
Yeah,
exactly. And that needs to stay
and getting
alive,
kind of
too.
excited about finding the different ones.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we need to educate people to really love that and not discard that.
So, wow. Well, it is just wonderful to meet you both. I'm so excited to hear what you're doing, and thanks for being here, part of the Creative
Thanks for
Coast.
having us
Yeah,
and
thank you.
taking the time to hear our story.
Sure.
Thank you.